what did I just experience? Why are colors brighter? Why do I feel like I'm actually connected to this person? What is this energy that I'm sensing or seeing in certain cases? It's been a very interesting kind of shift. And that was very much opened up through hypnosis, was how I opened my more intuitive side of myself that was definitely open when I was a kid because I would see weird things or have weird experiences. And so I was really into the paranormal when I was young. And then as I grew up, people were like, no, it's just not real. It's not a thing. And I'm just like, oh, I guess I'm just crazy. I don't want people to think I'm crazy. I'll just not talk about this ever again. I'll never tell anyone that I saw something that wasn't there and said, you're not supposed to be here, and it disappeared.
Ooh, cool.
Which is a story of a time I saw an entity.
Hello, and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. My name is Tricia Carr, and I am your host. This episode, I have a conversation with Earl Weiss. Earl is a certified hypnotherapist. He is dedicated to help people create rapid behavioral change. Earl has been certified in so many different modalities, and his practice was featured on a show called Destination LA for Los Angeles, and also featured on CBS and Amazon Prime. We talk about so many fun topics. We, of course, talk about hypnotherapy, hypnosis, meditation. We talk about out-of-body experiences, how to create profound change and to have emotional release about some limiting beliefs and states of emotions that have been holding you back. Earl loves to create rapid change with his clients. He's also a teacher, and he does group work. We have so much fun in this episode, and we get into some fun spiritual topics too, because he was open in intuitive abilities. He talks about a mediumistic experience he had when he was a young child and what it means to reopen those gifts. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you on the other side. I'm so excited to have you on, everyone. This is Earl Weiss. We were students together. We were classmates. We were in the exact same track together at HMI. That's Hypnosis Motivation Institute, HMI College for Hypnotherapy. And so Earl is graduated and doing his practice, have started his practice. We actually start while we're still in school, and we just hit it off so much. And you're so charismatic and you're so full of joy and light. If y'all are listening, you might want to peek at the YouTube video too, because just Earl's essence just beams out his face. So anyway, with that, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. What a great intro. How's it going, everyone? Yeah, I'm Earl Weiss. I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I kind of geek out in helping people make radical behavioral change in the kind of quickest, most effective ways possible. I think for me, when I was a psychology student, I was learning about therapy, and they were kind of like, oh, well, you have this person, and they sit there and they tell you their problem, and they do this, and I was always like, well, can't it be like a little quicker? Couldn't we what else could we do? I'm supposed to just listen? Do I say anything? Eventually, I kind of moved into hypnosis. I remember even then in college, I was like, hey, so there's this thing called hypnosis. My teacher was like, oh, I don't know, that's scary. And they wouldn't really, never really got into it because I was told oh no, that's just a tool and it doesn't even work. It was, I was told things like that. So I dropped it for many years, and I kind of synchronistically found the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, and it just kind of spoke to me. It really just, something was like, I'm supposed to be here. Suddenly you see, when it's time, you suddenly see things, and they come into your way of being. And so that was kind of what got me into hypnotherapy, was jumping into that in that way. I was looking for something really more for myself at the beginning. I was having, different problems with addictions and things like that. And I was like, there's got to be a way to, what is this? And so I kind of just jumped into, or just on a intuitive way, I just jumped into HMI, and that's where we met. And so I'm very happy to be here and excited.
Yeah, it's interesting how that synchronicity, because you've lived, you're here from Los Angeles basically, and And have you driven by that freeway sign many times? And
Yes, I've driven by many times and never noticed it. And certainly then it's like, what's the HMI hypnosis? What?
Yeah.
But as once it's like made itself known to me, it just felt right.
Yeah.
And I learned how to hypnotize people before that. But
cool.
Just in a kind of smaller capacity, more like the stage. Like, here's like a quick induction. Here you can do interesting things like make someone have an orgasm. Like, that's like strange things that I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, wow, you can do that? Like, what? How does that work? And so I really wanted to find the best way of actually like this could be used for actual change. This can be used to help people. This can be used as a therapeutic tool to really help people change their lives in quicker ways than we are told we can. And so that's just interesting, the way that the universe kind of sends you that message, and sometimes you just got to say yes and just do it.
I got to say, there's probably some people going, you know what? Having an orgasm would help me. So that could be a therapeutic thing. But I know what you mean, like, with the stage hypnosis. And stage hypnosis is different than hypnotherapy, than what we do. Stage hypnosis, as I'm not telling Earl this, I'm telling the audience this, Earl knows this. Stage hypnosis really works upon needing people to be a certain kind of suggestibility type and be basically in the state already, because a lot of people are walking around who are somnambulistic, or at least in the somnambulistic state, which is highly, highly suggestible. And so that's what stage hypnotists are trained to do, is see who's already in hypnosis and and willing to play along. And so even with stage hypnosis, your will is never overridden. The person consents to allow the hypnotist to, basically to manage their will. It's a whole thing. But anyway, that's different than, did you ever think that hypnosis was dangerous? Like you said, that college prof said it was dangerous, so some other people said it's dangerous. Do you ever think that yourself?
That back then, when I first kind of started getting into the ideas, I did like a little conversational hypnosis course with a friend, and it was teaching me like how to just see body language, see when people are in sync, like notice all these things. And so I got really into how like being able to just like study people, being able to see, like, notice things that most people aren't noticing, like just kind of change my vision to the whole spectrum versus just kind of honed in, which I feel like a lot of us are looking through this lens, like it's like tiny. And once we start seeing that, well, we can expand our awareness, suddenly you notice so much more, and your life becomes just more energized and colorful, and so it's really beautiful. But yeah, when I first asked, I remember I'll always remember the first time I asked a teacher about hypnosis, they were like, no, because that's bad, because you can give someone false memories. And it went back to, I think it was the 80s, where everyone was using hypnosis there, like in therapy, and they were guiding people to remember things that didn't happen, like or like sexual abuse and things like that. So everyone was on trial for sexual abuse. Yeah. Suddenly they're like, don't use hypnosis because this is bad. Well, certainly it's bad if you're guiding someone, they're in a suggestible state, and you're telling them like, and were you touched, or what?
Yeah,
and
it's the baby with the bathwater too. I mean, yeah, a dentist, while they have you under, can molest you, and that has happened in dentistry. So, yes. But we don't throw out dentistry because we have the bad dentist. Sorry, I have to just interject that. I'm like, that is so crazy to me that there was this widespread panic, like very much like the satanic panic, and they condemned the whole tool instead of the practitioners and the bad way that it was being utilized. So, so you had heard about that. Who told you that? Was that your professor? Or?
It was one of my professors in college. It was just kind of interesting. Yeah. And one of my professors in college. And so I remember that was like one of those things I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess this isn't a thing. People don't use it. It's not really a therapy tool. I guess I'm wrong. Like I was like, I'd read about it. And so I was like, I guess I'm wrong. So it was so easy to just dismiss it once, someone who I, looked up to and see like, okay, they say it's not good. It must not be good. Right. And so it wasn't until really years later that I actually started getting more into it again. I was like, oh, wait, I was really into this thing for a while until someone told me it wasn't good. And how is this used? And that's when you start seeing that, there's just this amazing tool that you can use to change people's lives. And there's so many other, it is a tool. It is, there's so many things in the toolbox. We use NLP, we use different like MER, just other techniques that really can help people make these rapid changes in their lives in ways that we just aren't taught. Like for me, it's like, why aren't we just teaching kids meditation in school? That's my ideal. That's what they should do instead of, someone does something bad, you get punished, you get put in this. Instead of, if you're doing something bad, that might mean you're having problems in your home, and so why don't we let you sit and experience yourself, get to know yourself, get feeling better about yourself? Because nothing good was built by creating like this guilt and shame cycle for people, right? All that happens is you end up having an addiction to something, or creating that, because a lot of addiction is just around kind of these cycles of shame and guilt. You drink and then you feel bad, and so you drink and then you feel bad, or even like an eating disorder, right? You eat and then you feel bad that you ate so much, and then you feel bad, and then it just kind of circularly continues creating this same cycle. And so for a lot of, now addiction centers, that's why they use hypnotherapists, a lot of them, right? Because it's such a great tool to help people change their view, see things differently, and be able to just like release all of that pent up negative energy around this guilt or shame. And so that's one of the amazing ways to use hypnotherapy as well that I love. It's such a versatile tool, and you can do anything from someone who's very, very science minded. Well, you can help them see the world a little bit different, and then you can even someone who's very metaphysical, you can help them have these great experiences of the divine. And so that's where you get into all these really cool realms, really cool tools and techniques. And that's kind of where I've been evolving as well. Is I was very like, no, this needs to be very scientifically proven and done this way. And then once you experience like a touch of the divine or God's hand or whatever you want to call it, it's something you're like, oh, well, what did I just experience? Why are colors brighter? Why do I feel like I'm actually connected to this person? What is this energy that I'm sensing or seeing in certain cases? It's been a very interesting kind of shift. And that was very much opened up through hypnosis, was how I kind of opened my more intuitive side of myself that was definitely open when I was a kid, because I would see weird things or have weird experiences of like, and so I was really into the paranormal when I was young. And then as I grew up, I was like, enough people were like, no, it's just not real. It's not, it's not a thing. And I'm just like, oh, I guess I'm just crazy. I don't want people to think I'm crazy. So I'll just not talk about this ever again. Like I'll never tell anyone that I saw something that wasn't there and said, you're not supposed to be here, and it disappeared.
Ooh, cool.
Which is a story of a time I saw an entity.
When was that? How old were you? Yes, and I love that. I love that you. So my business partner and best friend, her name is Crystalline Compton, and we teach people how to open their intuitive abilities, and and in that, just as you and I know, as we work with the subconscious mind, everything is under your management. You have sovereignty there. And Crystal, my partner, she calls it dominion. It's a frequency that you run because you have the domain, you have the absolute domain in what it is that you're experiencing as it concerns the spirit realm. And so that's what you did. You ran your dominion, like, get out of here. And it's all poof. Yeah. And so this kid knows something. Who taught this kid that?
Right. And I think that's one of those things. We intuitively know how to do these things.
Yes.
We have these abilities. We have these higher states of consciousness that we can achieve. But the way that our society is run is so left brain that it doesn't give us the room to do it. It doesn't give us the container to be able to experience more. And I think that's really sad. That's why, like I was saying, we should be teaching kids right away. Here's meditation. Here's a tool. Here's how to get in touch with your body. Here's how to heal your body. Here, instead of just here's a pill, we should be like, where are you feeling bad? Let's focus on that area. Let's see if we can bring it some energy. Let's see if we can bring it something a little better. Let's see if we can help fix it. Because like you and I know, you can hypnotize someone to not feel pain. Well, what other, there's so many other applications of that. You can use self-hypnosis for the same thing, which is slightly different than, when we're hypnotizing someone, as you well know for your listeners. Hello. But yeah, so, and for me, I know one of the, like my, I guess, intuitive abilities since we talked about that a little bit, and I don't normally talk about that with things, but I know your listeners are
we want to hear about it
of a better breed that has more open. So, and when I was a kid, I'll always remember this experience where I saw my grandfather, who I never knew because he passed away before I was born. I saw him outside of my door, my parents' doors, like my door and my parents' door. And I saw him right outside the door. And I was like, and I recognized him from pictures. And it was really weird for me. I was like, ugh. And I was like, and I had like immediately a fear reaction. I was like, there's a person there. And I was like, wait, I know this person from pictures. And he smiled. And I remember I just was like, and I put the thing over my covers over my head. I was like so scared in that moment because I was just like, I'm not supposed to see this. Like, you're not supposed to see that. I was raised in a Catholic school, and it's like life after death. There's all sorts of things around that. And so I had this I was like, ah! So I'm just terrified for that moment. And then the next morning, my mom is like, hey, did anyone have anything weird happen to them? So my mom also has always been very intuitive. She had all sorts of experiences, and like us growing up, we're like, oh, mom's doing witchcraft or something, because she would be out there like doing spiritual stuff that she knew how to do. That but like, for us, like the boys were like, oh, mom's doing witchcraft again, let's run away. Like, and so we didn't know that, like, she's bringing in positive energy, she's trying to do these things, and we're just like, witch, and but I remember that night, I had seen my grandfather, and then that next morning, my mom's just kind of making breakfast, and she's like, hey, did anyone have anything weird happen? And she's like making, and we're like, and my brother's like, what? No, like, what do you mean? But I remember both my brothers were like, what? Weird. No, you're weird. And and then I was like, I don't know. I kind of had a weird thing. And my mom's like, so I was laying down and I saw your grandfather, and he kept walking up to me to talk to me, and I kept getting scared and moving to the other side of the bed. And this is on my dad's side. This is my dad's father, not my mother's father. But she also saw him that same night in that same clothing that I saw. And to me, it's like, if two people seeing something, then there's a pattern, then that's an actual thing. It's not like we both simultaneously were hallucinating the same thing in different rooms. I mean, maybe, but at the same time, it's like that to me was one of the first experiences of, maybe we can see past this veil. Maybe there is something more. And so for me, I'll always remember that experience, because it was a shared experience. It wasn't just mine, right? If it was just me, I would have been like, okay, I'm just crazy, and I never would have thought about it again. But the fact that next morning, my mom is talking about the exact same thing, I'm like, oh my God, ghosts are real.
Granddad had something to say.
Yeah.
So did your mother help you to feel better about it in that moment? It sounds like, she was clearly very open about it. Were you able to embrace it a little bit? Obviously kids have their own free will, so we could continue to be afraid of it. How old were you, by the way?
I must have been around 10-ish. I was around 10-ish when that happened.
Yeah. And how did your mom help you to validate it, at least the fact that, did she talk to you about it, or?
Yeah. And she's always been very open, kind of in that way. Like she's like the person that can see someone and know that they're about to pass away. Like that's like where her gifts were, because she never knew how to like use it. But that's my same grandfather. Right before he passed away, he like passed away young of a heart attack. But she knew, she was like, she was like, don't leave, like, don't go. And he's just like, I'm going on this fishing trip. I have to, like it's no worries. She's like, don't go. Like she knew something was up. She knew that she wasn't going to see him again. And he went on this fishing trip. He was surrounded by all his friends. He passed away in that way. So at least he was having a good time. But, it was just, she's always been able to see that. And so for me, the idea that if that was the only thing I knew about her own intuitive abilities. So for me, I'm like, well, I don't want to see that. So for me, I was very closed off to it and the idea of it, because I didn't know there was more. I didn't know that you can really, raise your vibration and not see these darker things like that, and instead see, maybe entities that can provide help or guidance or, any of that sort of stuff. So that was really where it was for me. My mom, she's amazing. She she kind of also closed herself off from those experiences because those were scary for her, and she didn't know what they were. She's just like, knew like something bad's going to happen to this person. Can I warn them? And you can't really warn them at that point. It's just almost like you're doomed to see it is how she,
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, and I'm sorry that that's something that I hear about a lot. And, it's, as you and I know how to do with NLP, we want to reframe that and realize, the higher self had signed off on it anyway. It's just basically like you can smell someone baking a pie. You were just aware of the energy of it. And it's like you can prepare for it. You can support, hold space. You can love the situation that is happening because it's perfect. It's not bad that we pass away. Yeah. It's really not. It's of course the human we think it is. And it's a sad experience in the life passages, but when one passes, that's the time that the higher self approved it. And so I just say that for others who possibly have had that same experience as your mom, and I hope that she could, I pray, send her that positive energy, that it's a gift, and we can, like you say, raise your vibration and see the positive of it. Because, just being open to the energy, when you're energy sensitive, there's all kinds of things you can pick up on. I had a dream the other night, and it was a disturbing dream. I'm not going to say the details of it, but I said and it was about my husband. I said, I had a awful dream last night. I don't even want to tell you. And he's like, I had an awful dream about you that I don't want to tell you 2 nights ago. The crazy thing is, I was like, so it involved this person and this person, who are people that one we haven't spoken to in years and years, and one we hardly ever speak to. And both of those people were in his dream too. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like he was we were both dealing with something that had to do with us and our relationships. He had a dream first, and then it like trickled over. It took 2 days to walk across the bed to be in my dream too. But it opened up a beautiful conversation, even though the dreams were creepy.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So anyway, that reframe, because both Earl and I have taken neurolinguistic programming. We were certified with Joe Tabanella, who is your mentor,
amazing.
Right?
He's my mentor.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
He's taught me so many amazing things. He's actually, an experience with him was the first time I ever saw like an aura or energy move off of something, which was really, really cool. That was another experience that helped me see like, okay, there's definitely something more here than just what we are seeing with our 2 eyes.
Yes.
This third eye in the back is maybe being stimulated and showing me something more.
Yeah.
But I remember you might have actually been in that class. He was just kind of demonstrating I think he was demonstrating MER. He was kind of doing something. And I remember he was like moving his hand like this while he was talking and doing the technique. And I remember there was like a moment for me where time kind of slowed down, and I was feeling like this wave going right to the person he was like doing this thing. And she was describing, she was just kind of describing this deep fear that she'd had, like she could like barely could even leave her home, so much so. And I remember I looked around the room and everyone was so intently, you could see everyone's intention was there. Everyone was present. Everyone's intention was on this person healing from that trauma they were holding, what they were holding on to. And I remember her kind of just seeing the person vibrating a bit, and just like, and then there was just like and it was like a release. And I remember I just like felt it. I was like, whoa, like I felt it was like I got slapped in the face by this energy release. She had probably been holding on to this for 50 years, 40 years, and I remember I was like, whoa, what did I just feel? What did I kind of just see? Because to me, it looked like something coming right off of the person. And I remember in Joe also, he was just like, okay. And he was just like, let's take a break. And I remember seeing him kind of just like also kind of shaking off that energy. And I was just like, did I just feel energy? Did I just kind of see energy? I was, what is going on? It's like, am I going crazy? And I'm like, well, no, because clearly other people are feeling that too. Because everyone was kind of like, as soon as it was done, it was like, it was like that moment. And so to me, there's so many experiences that show that, okay, just because we can't necessarily measure it in a lab, how this works, there's clearly something there. If you look into things like even, past life regression, or people who who are born and then like around 3 or 4, they're remembering their past life. There's, I know that the researcher who studied that, 30, 40 years ago, he was like very adamant, like he got like $1 million to study this, like to disprove this thing. And so you can't really, and he didn't want to just, hypnotize people and have them experience a past life regression. So he found thousands of cases of people who are born and then just spontaneously have just remember past lives. And in these cases, it's like I remember one was a boy in Thailand who was 3, and he's just like, I was shot in my face. I was shot.
Yes.
And so they're just like, they took him to the village right to where he said he lived, where he was shot. And a few years before he was born, it was a man. He was a teacher. He was going off to work, and he got shot right through the head.
And the boy had a birthmark or some kind of
and he had
physical,
a birthmark.
Yeah.
And so it's like seeing those sort of cases. Like once you see it enough, well, that is evidence. That is that part. And so you have to kind of open up a little bit to maybe there's the idea that there's something, then that we're something more than just a meat body or like a sack of meat, and that's it. Because that's what a lot of science over the last 100 years has kind of said. It's like, no, you're a body and then you die or whatever. Or if you're religious, then you whatever your religious belief is. But they've always been kind of separate. Whereas I think that once we kind of start understanding like quantum mechanics, things like that, now suddenly we're in this realm where there's definitely more than what we are just seeing with our 2 eyes or experiencing or observing with our 2 eyes. In fact, our observations are what's helping create what we're observing. So I think that to me is the most fascinating aspect of all of this. It's just that once you experience or just allow yourself to be open to the experience of something more, that's when you start being able to perceive it, start being able to see it. Because really our perceptions shape our reality around us. And that's just how it is.
You mentioned quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and you breezed by, for example, quantum entanglement. And that's when 2 particles that are in separate locations behave as though they are one particle. They are one particle. They technically are one particle, even though they're in different locations. And that's basically what we're talking about with energy, being able to sense energy, or that dream seeping over to me from my husband. Yeah. That was basically a quantum entanglement. I mean, in that case, it was a delayed reaction, but I think it was helpful and appropriate. And then also the double slit experiment is something you were touching upon. And the double slit experiment where, they actually are observing, is it particles or is it, I forget, or is it like atoms or something?
They're particles of light going through slits. And when you're viewing it, they behave exactly like you expect them to behave.
Right.
Like they go perfectly through the slit. The light and the light is shown right there. When you're not observing it, well, suddenly they're in a random pattern, and because you're shooting the particles of light into it, and it's observing where it goes, and suddenly it's actually everything is more of a waveform. They're packets of energy, and so something about seeing it or observing it is actually making it go into existence in the way that it goes into existence, which is that's what happened with the double slit experiment. And so for me, like quantum entanglement, that is such an amazing concept because, I might think of someone and then we've all had that experience, right? Where we think of someone and suddenly they call you. Well, what happened there? Well, you sent some sort of intention, you were thinking about them, and they felt that because there's some sort of entanglement of your energy. And so they're like, oh, I should call Tricia. Right? And so I think that's one of the most amazing things. And we kind of shut ourselves off to those ideas because we don't, well, now with like quantum mechanics, we do quantum physics, we have kind of explanations for that,
or
but
at least
still
they're
still talking about it in the teeny tiny, in like the tiniest particles, whereas it's clear that it happens in larger, for us too.
Right.
And even that, like, I mean, are we not like an atom compared to the larger context of the universe? Maybe, and do we not behave erratically and move around in random patterns like they're saying atoms do? Because when we're, as far as going back to that, most of us, when we think of an atom, we have the idea of the this like thing, and it's like perfectly balanced. But really, the Bohr model of the atom is that it's, there's particles just all kind of floating around in random ways, and they're just, and so that's until it binds to something or where it's observed. That's when it actually has a shape.
Right. And so again, it's the energy, it's the awareness, it's focusing energy in some way or another. And what's so cool about that, what's so cool and exciting about it is that science, at least in the view of quantum physics, is catching up to what mystics have known for millions of years.
Yes.
But it's cool, it's great, and but it's very interesting because then there's still so far as in relation to quantum physics, there's still Luddites. There's still people who are resisting the adopting that, but it's scientific fact. The other thing that is so when you're talking about the entanglement. And the example you gave, that's basically telepathy. And it's interesting because telepathy tends to be co-thinking. You're thinking at the same time. You just do those particles become one as the neutrinos are passing through both of you in the identical same way. And so you kind of don't ever know if one started at the other. Usually, I think it's usually co-thinking. I think it is like entanglement, or your mirror neurons just started to cause you to bind and be the same thought at that time. That's what happens in that's what intuitive abilities are. You can point them at humans, you can point them at grandpas. Grandpas who are past. You can point them at angels, and it just happens. And people that it happens to spontaneously, like it did to you when you were a kid and you didn't know, or even as adults when that happens spontaneously. I think it's because those people are somnambulistic, and so they don't realize that they're open to it, maybe not in a conscious sense, but subconsciously they're open to it. And when you bring it into the fullness of your whole, mastery, then you know that you can direct it, and you can, like you said, raise your vibration. And the reason I say this, the reason I'm offering this is because, as Earl is saying, when you just open yourself up to it, then you can engage with these realms, the realm of spirit or energy. Sure, there's scary things out there. No scarier than this world, by the way. And so you have and it's even easier to direct your intention and your vibration to only the positive than it is in this world, right? I don't know how to get away from it entirely in this world, honestly. Although we can get better at it even with just raising that vibration. So you mentioned to me about some really cool experiences that you've been having that are new, spiritual experiences. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, since as I've been getting mastery over emotions and different things like that through hypnosis, through the tools that I teach people, and so it's like, well, what's the next step? Well, the next step must be to open up these intuitive abilities that I used to have that I, in the last 15 years, haven't really experienced very much, other than that time that I talked about in Joe's class. But so I was looking through. I'm like, what things do I think work? And I came upon the Monroe Institute, and they were heavily studied by the CIA. And so I was like, and there was some declassified documents I read about it, and they're talking about the holographic nature of the universe, the Matrix, all these things. And you're like, whoa. And I'm like looking at these. I'm like, well, this might be something cool to help me learn how to get in touch with my intuitive abilities. So they have a gateway program is what it's called. And I know a lot of people have used that over the last 30 years to help themselves grow in their own intuitive abilities. And essentially he's like almost putting you into a hypnotic state. He's like, go to focus 100%. 10, which is your body's completely relaxed, but your mind's very much awake. Well, that's the hypnotic state. So using that with, and they use sound entrainment from both sides of it's called hemisync. So both sides are starting to boom, 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 get in a perfect synchronicity. And so you're laying there, you're experiencing it. And I had I guess I've always had sleep paralysis. I'll preface with that, like that. I wake up, it's like, ooh, and I just like, what do I do? It's kind of hard to breathe. I'm aware, but I've always been like, well, can I do something with this? And I had in college had the experience a few times during sleep paralysis where it felt like I got yanked out of my body, which was really jarring. And I was like, this is terrifying. I need to never have this happen again. Well, now that I'm like more, secure with myself, I've dealt with all these things that were, keeping me from being my best self. And so I'm doing these hemi-syncs, and I had an out-of-body experience. It was so cool because I knew that it was probably possible, but I hadn't really experienced it. So through that technique, it was like, I was like, oh, well, and I rolled out of my body and I felt it. And I saw myself for that brief moment before I went back in. But it was just so amazing to know that I was like, okay, so this is the next step for me, is to kind of play around with my intuitive abilities, see what more there is where I can take this, but, still within the confines of like, positive stuff, because, but that was really cool for me, because that was like recently, that happened last few days ago.
Oh, nice.
So that's definitely the realm I'm playing with is now a bit more of energy and how to do that, because I've always been able to like move the energy in a room, but I didn't know what I was doing. It's more like, I'm like, okay, if I'm like get my cells excited and I'm with people and there's some sort of connection, I know there's a connection between all of us in here. Well, maybe I can help manipulate everyone's energy into something more positive. And so that's like really fun at a party, but I didn't know how to use it in other contexts. And so I'm kind of playing with that, right? And it's obviously really useful in therapy, helping people raise their energy if they're just down. Because sometimes, what's the difference between, certain things or if you're like, someone who's really depressed, they're kind of thinking sad thoughts, they're having physiologically, they're in like a really low energetic state. Well, so is relaxation is also a low energetic state, but it can be just relaxation and it's all positive thoughts.
Right.
So that's kind of the realm where I'm playing with is, seeing just even energetically shifting people's perspective or shifting them where they are.
That's
just holding
so
that like really positive intention for everyone that I talk to or see, or anyone listening here. I'm holding that intention that you guys are going to connect, have a great time, learn something, or at least get curious about something and continue listening and enjoy.
The synchronicity is amazing because right before you showed up, to record. By the way, he's in studio. We are in two different rooms because we're COVID safe, but he's actually in my studio in another room. But before you showed up, I led a live meditation in my a platform I have called Mystic Arts Academy. And it was to call in and embody unconditional positive outlook. And that's basically what you're just saying. Something along those lines.
Well, I think we've been in a synchronicity for a little bit here.
I know, because we had to reschedule this twice. Did we reschedule it twice?
Yeah, rescheduled twice.
Yeah, and both times it was so weird. Like the first time he rescheduled because he had some food poisoning, and I was like, oh my gosh, so did I. I was just going to try to muscle through it. And then the second time, my Franzi injured himself, my kitty cat, and his doggy had done something similar not too long ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. By the way, Franzi's better.
That's actually so weird. So that's that's awesome, and I think that's part of it. You have to get in sync with people before you can really have an experience or have that conversation or do something, because you can see when two people are out of sync with each other. It's just so tense. Whereas if we're kind of just more open, when we're vibrating at that and we meet that with those people, and it's like boom, and suddenly it's just like boom, the whole room is lit up, everything's awesome, and that's why it's so amazing to have
it's like the hemi-sync
circles.
Yeah, like the hemi-sync of the binaural beats and everything. You synchronize in the same way with another individual. And then what that goes to, by the way, is hypnosis dangerous? It's so funny. I was on a doctor's appointment, phone call with my doctor. And she asked me what I did. She was filling it out. And I said hypnotherapist. That's the easiest thing to say. Even though I do other things, I just say hypnotherapist. And she was like, oh, what's that? What's that about? And I told her, and she goes, oh, is hypnosis safe? And I was like, I don't know. Is it safe for me to take the medication you recommend me? You know what I mean? Like, gotta have rapport. I'm assuming you're good at what you do. I'm assuming you have good intentions. And it's the same thing. It's a technician who's working with your psyche. So that's why, Earl and I at HMI, we were taught to have rapport and, and to be able to gain their authority. I mean, to gain authority, which is just basically a way to say they can trust you, which is why I do things like this, because number one is to be of service. But number two is like, now you can see Earl's energy and you can actually get some rapport with Earl even and then choose to work with him, because look at that and listen to that heart coming through there. I'm about to have you induce me and do a little bit of work here.
Yes. And that's one of the amazing things. And certainly, if any of you listeners are, enjoying the things I'm talking about, please come work with me. I'd love to meet you. I also have programs that I do that are kind of a little bit more self-paced, but we meet and we have conversations, and those I do that with another hypnotherapist, Julie Tunador, and we kind of create these amazing courses where people, one of them is a 6-week emotional release course. And it's just 6 weeks where you are doing a deep dive into different emotions and letting those go. And we go through like anger, we go through sadness, we go through, we eventually kind of lead up to forgiveness. And so it's really amazing. And we saw like the most amazing changes in people just from being able to be present with themselves and go through an experience of like, okay, well, where am I holding anger? Well, I'm not really an angry person. And then they think they're like, oh, well, I guess I do always scream whenever someone cuts me off, and then I get really mad. I'm mad all day about it. And they're like, okay, so maybe I am angrier than I think. And so you kind of work through those little help them make those subconscious changes. And they're just like different people. Their whole energy is just opened up.
These are group programs you do with Julie?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And I got to tell you guys, I know that sometimes people feel hesitant to do group work because they feel shy, or they feel like, well, what I have going on is so specific. But I got to tell you, there is incredible power to doing group work. And, that's why 12-step programs, one of the reasons why they're so powerful is because of the group process.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really important to be doing both some individual one-on-one work, but group is so powerful. And I would say even do it 3-to-1 or 10-to-1, 3-to-1 group to the one-on-one sessions, because it's just so that means you can be in a community or a fellowship. That's what church was meant to have, too. But, and then for some people, including me, then dogma got in there and it started to mess things up. But the fellowship, the witnessing, the serving, the helping, because when someone else asks a question or someone else makes a transformation, that energy is contagious. It's the entanglement kicks in, and you get to experience what they're experiencing as well for yourself. So check out, we'll have a link in the description, and check out Julie and Earl's work there. That's so great, Earl. I'm so happy for you. What else are you guys doing besides the emotional release? 6 weeks emotional release?
Yeah,
is that what you said?
Well, we have the 6-week emotional release, and then we also have right now we're in the middle of our program that we call Becoming Present or Finding Your Present. And that's all about it. That one's a lot more of getting in touch with your inner energy, getting yourself very grounded, very secure, very just like centered. And that one's been amazing as well. We're in the 2nd week of that, and that one we're seeing that there's just so many. It's more like it can be a little bit jarring for people. Actually, they're like, oh, I'm present in this space, and I didn't realize how much my body aches. And it's like, well, yeah, we're sometimes when we're having issues in our body, we kind of just like float out of it and we're experiencing the world out here. But if we want to really heal from it, we got to move in and we got to put some energy, some time, some care into whatever's going on, and some release, some, feeling good, feeling okay. And then, it starts to fix itself. It starts to work, and you're actually working with your body to heal versus, I'm out of my body and then give me a medication so that I can not have to feel this or notice it or change it, but maybe something else might come off a little bit. So, it's more getting in touch with your body's natural ability to be in sync, be in synchronicity, have a coherent state. The first thing we do is heart and brain coherence just in the first day. And then we take that and we're essentially trying to help people get from from this like heavy beta wave brain activity where we are most of the day to this, this very pointed alpha state where you can be in. And then we kind of, we're trying to move people into like a gamma, being able to actually like just have that then experience by the end of it, have that experience where you're like, whoa, okay, now I'm experiencing the world in this greater context and maybe even more intuitive and in touch with those things. So it kind of starts with being present, learning how to just like kind of a few meditation techniques, but we use a lot of hypnosis. We use a lot of different like energy psychology. We kind of throw all of the techniques we know because we really want people to create like crazy change in like just a tiny bit of time. So it's kind of our thing. We're like, what's the quickest way to let go of all of your negative emotions? We're like, okay, well, we want to go through anger. We want to go through sadness. We want to deal with these different things. And so we were like, okay, it's going to take about 6 weeks. And 6 weeks in the grand context of life is nothing, right?
Exactly.
That's really nothing. Like we watched 6 weeks worth of Netflix. You could spend all that time. So instead, you have a half hour each day. So they're short. The time commitment is pretty short with what we do, but we keep it very like, boom, here's a hypnosis, here's a meditation, here's this technique to help you rewire both sides of your brain. Here's how to get this thought in. Here's a Ho'oponopono. Here's the, so we just throw so many different things in there. And so that you can just get that change, because not everything's going to work for each person, right? Some person might not like this, they might like this technique. So we like really use just so many different things, and we're always very present. We're always there. So it's like, you're not really taking it alone. We always have a course with people, and we're always there to answer questions. Like I'm almost like I'm like, I'm like there. I'm like, all right, ooh, question. All right. I'm like really into it. I just always want to always be of service. Like you're saying, that's my ultimate goal too. That's why I do what I do, is I want to see the world. It's just a brighter place. I want everyone to see the world in this brighter, more amazing context. And, I think there's so much, we're almost conditioned to be sad and be anxious and be stressed. And that's just kind of the nature of this reality we've created. You turn on the news, you're stressed, you're this. And when we're holding all that stress, we're not, that's not helping us, so, and we're not taught from a young age how to meditate, how to let go of stress, or even how to just process an emotion. And so that a lot of times that's what our job is to help people like learn how to process in a way that is better. You can, a lot of people are like, oh, I just need to sit with this and process it. And then, a year later, you're like, so how's it going? They're like, oh, well, I'm dealing with this thing. It's like the same thing that they were talking about a year before. I was like,
I know.
Have you tried this way of processing it? This way might be and they're like, oh, okay, I never thought of that. Well, yeah. So, oftentimes you need someone there to help you and give you that kind of guidance. That's why it's so great to have a mentor, or have, then that's the way they teach at HMI. You have that mentor so that you're learning from someone else. You're not just picking up your own way, thinking that like this is the only way to do it. Well, they're like, here's another way to do it. Here's someone who knows more things, or has done this, or has already dealt with these issues.
That's wonderful. What wonderful work you're doing, Earl. Thank you for doing it. You are making this world brighter, and I love that. And Julie as well. Tunador is how you pronounce her last name, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll put that information in the description.
Yeah, and for any of your viewers, if you put Charmed into as a coupon code, you get 20% off of.
Okay, good. Yeah, we got a little
programs.
Coupon. Yeah, we will grab that too. Thanks. Good. I want to ask you, because you mentioned meditation a couple of times, which is basically a kind of self-hypnosis, really. And so you've had a meditation practice for a while, I guess, I'm assuming?
Yes. Yeah. So I shift between how I
me too.
I practice different techniques. Yeah. And my favorite right now is kind of really, really, really getting present in the moment with myself, feeling my body, getting into, I breathe in from like all my energy centers up, like right up into my brain, almost imagining like a balloon just filling up with air. And I've been finding that one really helps me just like get present in the moment, just like really kind of shift my perspective. If I'm really stressed, it's like, okay, let's get some breath. Yeah. And just let it fill up my brain, and I kind of flex the muscles down in the lower end, because a lot of our kind of energy centers down there, that's what is keeping us kind of being very like grounded in
Right.
the like, I guess I don't know how to, like matter, makes us like more in matter versus being energetic.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, makes us more matter than energy. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's the right way to say that.
Oh, yeah, I get
So
it. Yeah, I think that
yeah.
sounds right. Yeah.
It makes you more matter than energy when if you're
Mm-hmm.
going through, if you know
Dense.
a little bit about the energy centers.
Yeah, it makes you more dense, like heavier
Yeah.
and dense, as opposed to being more uplifted or, yeah, exactly. More particle than wave. Isn't it
Yeah, yes, more
interesting that we use the word particular when someone is like over focusing on something and they're too dense, they're too heavy in the material, and that's when we're being too particular. You know what I mean? Or if we need to be a little more particular, it means we got to come down to earth a little bit, yo.
Yeah, exactly.
And it aligns right with the quantum physical, experiences of energy, wave, or particle. Anyway, sorry, I noticed that a while ago. So,
I mean, absolutely.
yeah.
And I think that's, and you think about it, even if you want to be completely, left brain about it,
Yeah.
you're, when we are super stressed, where do we hold all that food? If you eat carbs, something like we hold on to them because our body's like trying to get energy, and it's putting energy like in these parts of our body. Like we need to store fat. And then when you're stressed, also blood's going preferentially to your limbs. So you're ready to, run.
Right.
The thing is, modern day, we're not being chased by tigers. Where,
I always
it's
say
your
lions.
boss was mean to you. And so,
Yeah.
or, a loved one said like, hey, you look chubby. And so you're stressed and and then you're putting on more, so really, a lot of what we do is help just shift those limiting beliefs, help you realize that more is possible. And help you find that avenue to really create change in your life. Because, you can do it on your own, sure, but it is much easier when you have someone helping you or giving you the best tools to do something. Because, I mean, realistically, it's like if you had the tools to do it, you would have already done it.
Right. And just having a mirror, if nothing else. I mean, there's a lot of ways that a therapist, a guide, a counselor, a hypnotherapist, obviously, can, or a teacher, a teacher in a group situation, that there's just, there's so much that another can support you in moving that forward a little bit faster, a lot of it faster. So how would you advise someone today, this moment that they're listening to this, to start to do some of that personal exploration, meditation, or self-hypnosis, or any of these tools, or that, to just start them today, in addition to, please do, check out any of the resources that are being offered. By the way, we should mention also, well, Earl is a professional, and a few episodes ago, I had on George Kappas, who is the director of HMI College. And just to reiterate, because we talked about it then, we talked about it on Cheryl's episode, HMI has pro bono hypnosis, meaning free. You can have free hypnosis from the resident students. And Earl was he was a resident 5 minutes ago. So you would have been working with Earl for free.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage, so that there's no barrier for anyone who is being touched and stimulated by what Earl is talking about, what we're talking about, that if money is a barrier right now, there is high quality, clinically overseen practitioners available from HMI. So that link will be in there as well. But you could just go to hypnosis.org. Is that it? Or is it edu? .edu?
It's
Oh gosh,
EDU.
I'll put the link in there.
Yes, I think it's EDU, yes.
EDU? Okay, thanks. Anyway, so yes, how would you, back to my original question before I went on that rant, how would you point someone today to start to do some of that inner knowing, and that start the process right now, whether it's meditation or some other tool?
So the easiest tool, for me, this is because you can, I have I'm also heart math certified. And so this one, I'll hook someone up to see their heart rate variability. And you can right away, this tool, this technique will in the moment help you right away get out of just these stressful feelings. And that's it's a breathing technique, but basically as you breathe in and just imagine that the breath is coming in through your heart. And as you breathe out, imagine it going out through your solar plexus. Just so right there under your rib cage, that the breath is coming out of there, and just focusing on that breath to a 5 count in, 5 count out, and in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you were to do that for just even 2 minutes, you are already, you will already see that you are in coherence, that you right away go into a coherent state where your heart, your brain, your mind, they're just like, they're working in a synchronicity. Because sometimes, we're all up here, or we're feeling too much, we're feeling stuff just all in our body. And, our body has 40,000 of its own, our heart, has 40,000 of its own neurons. So it has its own little brain. And that's, this is the one telling you that, like, based on your environment, it finding an environmental signal, like, hey, you're anxious, like you need to run, and so that, chronically will become, anxiety. But if you go into the moment there, breathing in that way, breathing out, well, suddenly you're in control again of your heart's neurons, and then you're also in control up there. So that one's my favorite just technique to teach anyone, like right there in the moment. Just like they're like, I'm stressed all the time. You're like, just breathe like this. Focus on the heart and out, and then you bring, after just doing that for a minute, feelings of gratitude, love. And gratitude's like that feeling. Then suddenly, like, and that will create the coherence. Yeah. So that is the easiest tool. That is like, just do it. Just do that in your meditation.
And many times per day, anytime you feel like creeping in. You can, I've advised people, if you work, right now a lot of people are working at home, but if you're in a work environment, and so we kind of think, well, if I'm at work 8 hours a day, I can't meditate. But you can go to the bathroom, right? And you could spend 5 minutes in the bathroom. You can do your business in 2.5, and you can do heart-brain coherence for another 2.
Absolutely. And it's, or you could, just, if you're breathing like that anyways, like, I'm breathing like that now.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we need to be better breathers. That's so sure, so true. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. So that's a maybe a mini meditation. It doesn't matter how long. If you are, and even just the intention to give that to yourself, you'll see your life start to shift. And so thank you for that. I love the heart-brain coherence technique. By the way, we have the neurons in our gut as well. So if you're breathing in through your heart, you're kind of taking in light, you're taking in nourishment, and then you're releasing things from that identity center that's probably said, I'm this, I'm that, in the negative sense, or what the world is even. So that's wonderful. I love it. Earl, this has been so amazing, even beyond my wildest dreams, which is always my intention. So we have all of your information in the show notes and the description. Is there anything else you would like to share as we wrap up?
No, just, if any of you want to work with me, like I said, Charmed, and on my website too, even my hypnotherapy packages, 20% off for those too, for Charmed listeners. That basically I'm paying you to see me at that point if you got like a big package. But I thought I'd do something nice, and to me it's not about the money, it's about helping people. And so it's, I want to spread that. I want to give people tools, techniques, things that they can use in their everyday to just make their life that much brighter, that much better.
Wow. Thank you so much. How generous. I really, really appreciate you. And we'll have to do this more often. We'll have to come back on another time.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah, I'll tell you more about my experiences out of body next time, because I'm sure there will be more.
Cool. We'll do that. Thank you so much, Earl. Earl Weiss, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Well, that's our show today. I hope you enjoyed Earl's infectious high vibration energy as much as I did. I trust that you did. And remember to check in the show notes for all of those different ways that you could work with Earl. And he's offering a 20% discount by using the code CHARMED, but you can find that in the show notes or the description of the podcast. And, do please also follow, like, subscribe, share, and comment. You guys, I am very active on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is @Tricia Carr Charm. I'm going live up there to offer some readings and to do some teaching, as well as on the YouTube channel. If you click the little bell on YouTube, then you'll be able to find out when I'm going to be live streaming there, so that you can be present and perhaps participate in whatever it is I'm offering, to include sometimes readings to whomever shows up and asks for one. I want to also offer that you check out my Mystic Arts Academy, where we're doing live meditations and classes, workshops twice per month. But I just truly appreciate you connecting and shining your light. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.